Hey, it's Ika here. I'm coming with some content for Sword and Shield. I've been playing this ladder now for about 200, 300 games over the last week, um, just ever since it's come out really um, on Showdown, and I just want to give everyone an idea of what's good, what's going around, um, what sets they seem to be using. Obviously, this can change as Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon changes, but I've kind of just tiered everything into ranks of 6. These are not like static. Like I think, for example, and I will go through that some of these mons within lower tiers could easily be up in higher tiers. So I'm just going to go through what I put like the top. Um, I think. Oh, this is one of my teams. Um, yeah, these are the top. I think are the top 18 most used mons. Maybe Rotom fan shouldn't be there. Rotom fan. Okay, we'll call it the top 17 most used mons, and add Rotom fan here. And Parascooter I think is doubled, so yeah, think. So yeah, this is like the kind of the top 17 most used mons, I guess, and then some interesting mons here that are worth noting. I'll add Ditto to this as well, and a Duraludon. I think these are two interesting mons that have certain niches that are good. So without further ado, these are definitely the top 6 Pokemon in the meta. I'd say it's rather than 6 as 7 really common Pokemon, which includes Excadrill as well. As kind of the 7th is also in this tier. But obviously, I don't have enough space here to put Excadrill. Of those, there's like 2 top dogs, which are Mimikyu and Dragapult. They're on almost every team. I think these are like, you can make arguments between 1 and 2. I'm kind of thinking at the moment Mimikyu is 1 and Dragapult is 2, but it could be either ways. Let me talk anyways about Mimikyu sets. The standard Mimikyu set is this: Life Orb. Swords, it's pretty much the same one as in old generation, so Life Orb, Swords Dance, Play Rough, Shadow Sneak, Shadow Claw, Shadow Sneak, and this is the set that you're almost always going to see. You don't see as much Curse Mimikyu nowadays because stuff that slower stuff is not that like absolutely saps momentum. Like I don't know, Hippowdon, and while Ferrothorn isn't one of those because Ferrothorn actually friends Mimikyu, but that sort of slower stuff with Toxapex is not quite as good, and also Moody Glalie has been nerfed, so you don't need Curse to counter evasion strats because it's just not as good. Though Curse is something that situationally can be here, like the majority of sets you're going to see is something like this. Mimikyu is a great Dynamaxer, so at +2, the disguise, it has been nerfed, but essentially works the same way. The only main thing is that disguise, when it breaks, you lose health. I think it's 12%, 12.5% of max health, so you're not going to want to run Sash anymore. If you're running Life Orb on something else, although Life Orb is easily the best item on Mimikyu, Spell Tag is also a good item. Spell Tag, it's just for when you've got item slots that needs like optimizing. Life Orb just does tons of damage, so +2 Shadow Claw, for example, does has a decent chance, 40% chance to 2-hit KO max HP, max defense, Corviknight. That's without even Dynamaxing. Has like a 20 to 30% chance of 2-hit KOing, max HP, max defense. Invest in Nature Ferrothorn as well. So these are two things to keep in mind. This Pokemon also gets, to make up for lack of Z moves, it also gets the Dynamaxing Max Phantasm. Max Phantasm is just fantastic on Mimikyu because as you're spamming Shadow Claw, which is mostly like not resisted particularly well on the tier, then you are going to basically drop the opponent's defense, so they can't just like I don't know, like heal store you. Let's say you're up against like a Corviknight, they can't just restore you. They have to do other things. But that's just an example. Obviously, Dynamaxing great for this. It's hard to OHKO Mimikyu as it is, but Dynamaxing makes it surprisingly bulky, able to take certain hits that it otherwise wouldn't be. The only downside of Dynamaxing with Mimikyu is the Mimikyu mirror. Since Life Orb Mimikyu, Shadow Sneak will do a decent chunk to even Dynamax Mimikyu. I think it does about 70% normally, but so about 35 to 40% when you're Dynamaxed. And obviously priority, you don't get priority when you Dynamax, so that's something to keep in mind. So when you're doing that. Second Pokemon, Dragapult. Dragapult's clearly the second best in the game at the moment. What makes it good is just the stat distribution and the diversity of sets. Generally, you're always going to want to be running Speed Invest in Nature. With Dragapult, Naive is generally preferred over Hasty if you're running like a mixed set because of Mimikyu's Shadow Sneak. But yeah, I can go through some of like the major sets that I've been seeing. So a full special set, choice specs. When it comes to ability, you can either use Clear Body or Infiltrator. Both are good on the special sets. I'd almost always use Infiltrator unless you're worried about something like Sticky Web. Sticky Web, it's not too common, but it can be seen, and obviously if Dragapult is your like main revenge killer, you might want to consider that. For physical sets, you don't want to be taking like Max Whirlwind from opposing Dragapult in speed ties and stuff like that. So Clear Body can be better in there. Like both of these are not too hugely significant, but they're nice to have. Curse Body is probably the worst of the lot, so you want to stick between these two. So yeah, choice specs, you're gonna have Draco. Shadow Ball is your like main stab. You want a fire move. Flamethrower is fine on spec sets. That just hits Ferrothorn and Galarian Darmanitan, and then lastly Thunderbolt. You want Thunderbolt to hit Gyarados. So yeah, this sort of set, maybe with you can have U-turn over maybe Draco or something like that, or over Flamethrower or Thunderbolt to keep up momentum even on specs. One of the things that's good about this, like the change for Dragapult, is that even if your choice locks, you can always Dynamax. So, and Dragapult just has great coverage, so you can use that to your advantage. Another common set, Choice Band, Phantom Force, surprisingly pretty good. It's a strong Dynamax move, but also stalls opposing Dynamax because of the disappearing act. And then Dragon Darts, its signature ability. Dragon Darts basically hits, it's a multi-hit move. And then for your last move, you can have anything really. Psychic Fangs is good, Sucker Punch, fine. You can even run, like, on these sorts of sets, you can run Mixed Dragapult, still having, like, Fire Blast for Ferrothorn, or something like this. which might otherwise wall this set, can be very strong with like a naive nature. Yeah, that just covers Ferrothorn, and then nothing else likes to take the Ghost and Dragon coverage. You turn out versus Mimikyu, and yeah, you probably prefer to have Clear Body here to like stop you getting like stored out by Galarian Corsola, or intimidated by Gyarados, or by to a lesser extent Arcanine, and also Max Wormwinded in the Dynamax mirror match by opposing Dragapult. Last major set you see is Choice Scarf. You don't have to choice this item, this Pokemon, but really it's nice to do. Generally, you want your life, leave your life off for something else. You can also run Weakness Policy on this. You run the same sort of set with Weakness Policy, whilst Dynamaxed Dragapult can take lots of hits. But yeah, I just want to talk a bit about Scarf. Scarf, you turn Shadow Ball. Generally, these are running more special than physical. You want Fire Blast, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt. A reason why you want Fire Blast with Flamethrower is it KOs Galarian Darmanitan. And yeah, Timid is generally your moveset of choice. Really, because you want to beat other Dragapult in speed ties. Pretty much that's it. I mean, there's a few things like outspeeding Jolly Excadrill in sand and stuff like that, but that's not too important. Mostly you just want to always be the fastest thing, or like other than Barraskewda in main. So yeah, these are clearly two best mons. Now we'll talk about the Rotom forms. Rotom still extremely good in this generation. You can run all sorts of things. Common thing to run is Choice Scarf, Overheat, Volt, Switch, and then maybe you can run Trick, Shadow Ball. Even Scarf Will-O-Wisp is pretty good on this. Basically, you want to be Timid Scarf. The reason you want to be Timid Scarf, you want to outspeed +1 Gyarados, so you can get that damage off with either Volt Switch, or maybe you have Discharge here. It doesn't really matter too much. This is a good set. Also very solid against Ferrothorn and Corviknight cores. You can run. You're free to also run like bulkier sets, so like maybe like a max HP modest sort of one. I've just made this up. Run Citrus with Levitate, Volt Switch, Discharge, and then you can run Will-O-Wisp here as your last. This sort of thing is good. Or if you're worried about opposing Gyarados, you can run certain techs, like run Pasture Berry, which will allow you to eat +1 a Max Gazer from Gyarados, which basically allows you to guarantee to get off Volt Switch versus Dynamax Gyarados. They can Volt Switch into, let's say, Scarf Dragapult, so you have this like double check where you go, okay, I have this plan of how to deal with Gyarados, even if the opposing Gyarados has like a Wakam Berry or something like this. So yeah, the resist berries are super good. One thing this Pokemon does have to watch out for is Excadrill in particular, and generally just and Rotom Wash as well. So yeah, this, I think Rotom Heats, where it beats Rotom Wash, is better against Ferrothorn and Corviknight. Whereas Rotom Wash, same thing, you can run Rindo Berry, and essentially you're running the same sorts of sets on this. Hydro Pump, Volt, Wisp, Discharge. You can also run Shadow Ball. Obviously, you can even run Reflect is okay on this, or Trick. But yeah, you're running the same sort of sets, so generally you always want to have some sort of special attacking investment here. I like actually having 252 100. This gives you like better defensive stats versus Gara and versus other attackers. Obviously this Pokemon isn't as strong versus Ferrothorn, but maybe you have something like let's look, that beats Ferrothorn really hard in the back, like maybe avoid switching out into Hydreigon or into Dragapult, or here have a Conqueror, something I didn't really mention, or Arcanine. These Pokemon really exploit Ferrothorn, so you have that option. So yeah, you can run Rindo if you're scared of Gyarados in particular, because Gyarados can now run Power Whip. Other than that, Specs, Scarf, the same usual Rotom sets that it always had. Ferrothorn, generally you're running Bulky Berry or Leftovers of some sort. You can run Helmet as well. Helmet is perfectly fine on Ferrothorn, and or you want to do Power Whip or Bullet Seed, depends on what you prefer. Gyro Ball, these are standard, and then Leech Seed, of course. And generally you're running Protect or Curse in the last slot. Protect just wastes Dynamax turns of certain Pokemon. So, you know, if you're versus a Dynamax Gyarados, you know, Leech Seed Protect can give you health back quite consistently. Like, one of the good things about Leech Seed is it doubles health back on versus Dynamax. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. And then yeah, obviously you have other options. Stealth Rock is another potential option. It's not quite as good. In this T-Wave, another option. And generally you're always running some sort of defensive spread. So something like this, or maybe you're running a certain amount of Spadef. I think in last gen this was the Spadef you generally ran for like certain Focus Blast and stuff like that. You're not going to see too much Focus Blast, but you can definitely see weaker fire moves, perhaps. A possibility here, maybe running something like an Ockerberry is also, or is also an opportunity. But yeah, Gyarados. I think if I've missed anything, I don't think I have. Gyarados, generally you're running either Wakamberry or Citrus. Here in this slot, they're almost always the same. DD plus 3 attacks, with Wood 4 and Bounce being the primary ones, with either Earthquake or Power Whip being the last two. Almost always the same EVs at the moment. You want to be jolly, so you outspeed Dragapult. I think Gyarados hits 219 speed, so maybe you can bring this down to like what would outspeed 213, like, oh god, at +1. You're doing 141, maybe 142 would. So yeah, you'd have to be like 228 speed. You could run something like this, maybe have a little bit more bulk for something. But yeah, generally these three moves cover the entirety of the tier, really threatening. You know, to go up against. You can run either Moxie or Intimidate. People are running Moxie now because when you use Max Airstream and KO Pokemon, you get like essentially a pseudo Dragon Dance. But Intimidate is also good. It allows you to easier set up on certain Pokemon, like maybe a Weaken, a Mimikyu or something like that. But yeah, these are the real like big threats, and then you have one more, which is Excadrill. Generally, you're running Sash, Assault Vest, or Scarf. The Sash set is the same as last BSS, so Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. have Iron Head, Earthquake, Rock Tomb. There's just a Sash lead. Generally, you want to run Jolly Sash rather than Adamant Sash. The reason you want to run Jolly just outspeeds Mimikyu in particular, as well as stuff like, I don't know, Bandit Darmanitan or something like that. It outspeeds. So yeah, this is probably the 7th best mon in the game, and you can run Assault Vest. This mon's a great Dynamaxer. So instead of Stealth Rock, you generally have Rapid Spin. It gives you a nice speed boost, and yeah, you still want to run Jolly. Would allow you to outspeeds what's it called? Dragapult. But yeah, it's hard to get Rapid Spin off when the best two Pokemon are both Ghost types. But you know, possible. I don't think the set is as good. But it does like live certain hits. Mob Breaker is very good against the Rotom forms. So you can like catch out Rotoms with Mob Breaker Drill. And then Sandrush Sweeper, have something like Life Orb here, and then you want ST Iron Head, and this could be obviously Rock Slide over Rock Tomb, and then you can have either Jolly or Adamant here. The only major difference is that you're if you're running Jolly, you're outspeeding +1 Dragapult, whereas if you're running Adamant, you aren't. That's about it, really. Yeah, generally run this with T-Tar or Hippowdon. Corviknight, really good Pokemon. You have either two great abilities. Mirror Armor is great. One of the reasons that perhaps Moxie Gyarados is better is because Corviknight can actually bounce Intimidate from Gyarados. But Pressure is also an excellent ability. You're always going to see Roost on this Pokemon, but you can see stuff like Bulk Up, Brave Bird. I think this thing also gets Body Press, Steel move. So I don't think it's that heavy. So maybe not Heavy Slam, but Iron Head. And you can run like Leftovers, Citrus, Bulky Berry. You're always going to see something like this. Mostly. You see something like this mostly, but you can see like faster sets, maybe something that just outspeeds like a 0-speed Rotom or something like that. I think that's 108 maybe, outspeeds 0-speed Rotom. Don't quote me on it, but yeah, you can see something like that. It could also run offensive sets, so you could have like Taunt, Bulk Up as well. Something like this, just mono Brave Bird, or yeah, that's really what this Pokemon does. Yeah, it's there to like consistently 1v1 stuff like Mimikyu. So rather than Brave Bird, perhaps you'll have like Iron Head or something like this. Perfectly good Pokemon, very solid. Pressures are good against like Story Environments. But Mirror Armor is also good. Grimmsnarl, this Pokemon does pretty much what makes it good is the ability Prankster. So it can set up a lot of stuff. So it can either go on more offensive sets at Bulk Up, like runs Darkest Lariat for opposing setup, and it has its own signature Spirit Break. And does this thing get Drain Punch? Yeah, so you can run like something like Drain Punch or Drain Punch or Sub Bulk Up or something like that. Generally on your like leftovers on this sort of set with have it as fast as possible. Jolly, or you can, because of this guy has Prankster, you can also run Adamant and Bulk here. That's not a precise EV spread, by the way. That's just an example, and maybe like run like 12 to outspeed 0-speed Aegislash, or you could run run something like this, 68 speed, outspeed Corviknight, 4 speed Corviknight. So that's also kind of an option that you can go with. Also, another thing that this Pokemon can do is dual screen, so reflect, taunt, light screen, and then you can like spam like Spirit Break or something like that, or you can have T-Wave in this thing. It's hard to pull off, but it's also like an option that's there with the Light Clay. Problem with this set is it doesn't really have a good like way to get out, or it doesn't have a way to phase opposing Pokemon. So that's something to keep in mind. Yeah, unboosted this one's quite weak. Especially defensively, it gets OKO'd by Life Orb Mimikyu's play rough, so you gotta keep that in mind. Darmanitan Galar. You're only going to see 2 sets, Band or Scarf. Generally, the better set seems to be Scarf at the moment, but they essentially run the same moves: Icicle Crash, Flare Blitz, Earthquake. You can run Superpower over Earthquake and U-turn, and then you're running like something like Adamant Scarf. There's a slight difference between Adamant and Jolly Scarf. I can't remember the exact speed tiers off the top of my head, but it's just generally pretty good. I'm gonna check if my mic's still working. Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, this Pokemon's just a bit of a terror, really. Nothing like switching into all of these moves, and you can Dynamax to. But you have to keep in mind that you'll lose the speed boost, but you can Dynamax to live certain hits. So, for example, a common situation in Sword and Shield BSS, Darmanitan versus Dragapult. Scarf Dragapult can outspeed Scarf Darmanitan and OKO it with the Flare Blitz, but if you Dynamax with Scarf Darmanitan, you can OKO it with Max Hailstorm and live the Fire Blast. So those are like two like a 50-50s that this mon creates. U-turn also super free. Nothing was this Pokemon really in the tier, but it can get revenge quite easily, and Pokemon can like trade one hit against it, and like this Pokemon's pretty frail, but it does have has decent HP stats, so that's something to keep in mind. Toxapex, everyone knows what this Pokemon does. You're running max defense over special defense. You don't really need defense to take on Rotom. One thing to note, like you can run nasty plot on Rotom sets, like Heat and Wash generally aren't going to run it, though. You're going to see more defensive oriented sets. But yeah, sorry, like a Black Sludge Rotom with Toxic or Toxic Spikes, Recover, Scald, there you see Haze or Baneful Bonker or something like that. Everyone knows what it does. It just sits there, sponges a few hits, regenerates out. So I'm not going to talk too much about it. Its raw is essentially the same as last generation. It does pretty well against certain things. So like you can have it sit there versus like Ferrothorn, get the burn on it. It can wall Mimikyu to an extent. Like even if you ST and Dynamax with Mimikyu, Toxapex clicks Haze, you'll win that 1v1. Gyarados, it can beat Gyarados by hazing and skull burning it, unless Gyarados has Taunt. Taunt isn't that common, but it can be there. And then we have Corsola Galar. Curse Body is always the ability to use. Just we can't miss not good on this Pokemon, and you're always going to have a new Violite. Max HP, max defense, bold. Typically you're going to see on this, and it pretty much runs one set. Will-O-Wisp, Stealth Rock, Strength Sap, and Haze, or Haze can be the last slot, or no, what I'm talking about, Nightshade is always here, and then it can be Stealth Rock or Haze in the last slot. This Pokemon basically, what are you trying to beat? You're trying to beat Mimikyu. If you can get a burn on Mimikyu, you can generally win. It beats Gyarados in particular is the main one, and to a lesser extent Excadrill. And it can eat hits from Darmanitan. Can eat like a hit from Darmanitan, strength sat back to full, and then it walls Darmanitan from that point onwards. But you know, you have to be very careful about around that mon because it's just broken. This Pokemon is probably the worst out of these 12. They're probably down here somewhere actually. So, and then you have Aegislash. One of the things with Aegislash this generation is it can't do the toxic stalling things because it has no toxic. Subtoxic would be amazing in this gen, but yeah, you're more likely to see a more offensive set using Aegislash's like natural bulk, such as Sneak and King Shield. Well, maybe something like not Shadow Claw, maybe something like Iron Head, Shadow Sneak. You can run like Weakness Policy, or you can run Life Orb or Leftovers or Bulky Barrier, something like this. Always going to see max HP on this mon, of course. And yeah, like Weakness Policy, you're going to have something more defensive like the 196 spread with like, you know, slow defense. And you have like a bit of attack there. Then you take a hit, get your Weakness Policy, and you start fucking people up. Special is still okay. Or mixed. Shadow Ball is still a great stab. Does tons to this Pokemon can eat a hit from Dragapult and OHKO it back with Shadow Ball or Shadow Claw. It generally eats hits from Rotom, like even Max Flare can eat from Rotom. Generally just sits in versus Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn can't do anything to this Pokemon, especially if it has Substitute. It doesn't. It can eat hits from Gyarados, one of the few Pokemon that can. And then Corviknight's like food for it, as is something like Grimmsnarl doesn't generally appreciate it. And I don't think you can eat a Darmanitan hit, but yeah, when versus some of these weaker, slower Pokemon, it can just eat a hit and then, you know, start fucking things up. Hippo, not as good as last gen, but you're going to see a slightly different set. EQ, Yawn, Slack, and generally something like Ice Fang is in the last slot, or you see like Rocky Helmet. The reason you don't see Whirlwind as much this generation is because Dynamax Pokemon are immune to Whirlwind, so you can't actually just. Or you might see Stealth Rock in this as well. Dynamax Pokemon are immune to Whirlwind, so you can't really use Hippo in the same capacity as you could before. I mean, obviously, you know, Hippo is like still like pretty good, I think, but it's definitely not as good as last generation. Hydreigon, main thing is going for it. Obviously, choice specs, choice scarf sets are still good, same as last generation. You know, Earth Power, Dragon Meteor, Fire Move, and then probably Flash Cannon or Hydro Pump or Dark Pulse or something like that. But yeah, Nasty Plot, Dark Pulse. Then you want a Fire Move to deal with Ferrothorn, or you can think Nasty Plot, but Dark Pulse is fine. But having a Fire Move to hit Ferrothorn is always good, and then Draco Meteor is like pretty decent. You're not really using your ground coverage much. Like +2 Draco's going to do tons of Toxapex. The only thing you're really hitting maybe is T-Tar harder. The rest you'd rather hit Draco, yeah. But this pretty much, you know, like a timid set. Scarf Hydreigon is also very good. So something like this, Nasty Plot, and you can run anything here, Life Orb. This Pokemon does lose Roost, I believe. A Taunt is also an okay option on Hydreigon. So, but yeah, it loses Roost, but it gains Nasty Plot. So this Pokemon's more defined as a special attacker than like a bulky like Roost Hydreigon. You can run this as well. Fit Modest is perfectly fine. But yeah, still a solid one. Barraskewda, you're generally running it on Rain, Life Orb or Choice Band, with Waterfall, Psychic Fangs, Crunch, and CC. Something like this is always very solid with, and on Rain you always run Acclimate, Max. Just cleans through teams. Rain boosted Waterfalls do tons. Close combat, just you can boost your stuff up, your attacks up, or do tons to Ferrothorn to break the way for other Pokemon. It also bobs Snorlax and Hydreigon. Pokemon does have a few problems, so it's why it's not higher up, but it's like pretty good. Psychic Fangs is good for Psychic Terrain, resetting terrain, or you can run Ice Fang as well. Though it's less useful with, or Drill Run is another one that you can run. Snorlax, but yeah, this Pokemon's pretty good. I went down to Snorlax a bit too early. Same thing as it usually does. So, Aguav Berry or like a bulky berry, Earthquake, or Fire Punch is probably better nowadays because Aegislash is not quite as good, and not return Double Edge you want to run. There's no return, but that's fine. People are running Double Edge as well. Curse, Recycle, pretty standards. The theme Snorlax set from previous generations works. You can actually arguably run more bulk and less Def bulk because there's not as many special attackers like your main ones like Hydreigon, Rotom. Rotom is the main one, and Dragapult. Dragapult's not strong enough to do anything to Snorlax, nor is Rotom. So obviously you're gonna have to watch out for Will-O-Wisp from Rotom. But yeah, something like this, very solid. Not used as much. Obviously the bulky berry nerf hurts Snorlax, but hey. So yeah, these are basically the 17 or 16 if you count Rotom as one Pokemon. Best Pokemon in the meta at the moment, I think. Corsola is probably down here somewhere, so when you think about it, there's like top 7 Mimikyu, and these and Excadrill, and then you have like 4 more, which are Corviknight, Grimmsnarl, Darmanitan, and Toxapex, and then you have like a group of 6 here. Probably Snorlax is up here as well, but we haven't really looked into it. And then I just want to talk about a few more Pokemon. Maybe I'll Pelipper. I'm not even going to say much about Pelipper. You know what it does. It's just a rain setter. So I'll replace Pelipper with Conkeldurr. Conkeldurr is a bit more interesting. But we'll start with T-Tar. T-Tar, it's been used. It's like it's a decent sand setter. It has a good matchup against Dragapult in particular, and as well as Rotom Heat are two big ones. You can run like Lum DD, something like that. It has coverage to hit Ferrothorn. It can live Gyarados hits in sand. Also sets up sand for Excadrill. Yeah, so solid Pokemon. You run weakness policy, or you can run like a sugar berry or something like that, or chopple. Both good, or DD, or you can even run sash or something like that. So much things you can do with T-Tarb, you know, Dragon Dance, like Stone Edge are very good. Crunch is also excellent for Dragapult, and then you want to run like a fire move for Ferrothorn, or perhaps you can run low kick for Snorlax and for Ferrothorn. Something like this is a pretty good set. Arcanine, you see it sometimes. Rocky Helmet is pretty good. Morning Sun, Will-O-Wisp, Flare Blitz, and Wild Charge is generally what you're going to see. Just a pretty solid bulky ball. You probably want to run slightly more attack here, but yeah, it can like live certain hits. Maybe it can live a Gyarados hit after an Intimidate. Pop with the Wild Charge. Flare Blitz, just a very standard strong stab you, comes in on Ferrothorn for free. This Pokemon can also obviously 1v1 Mimikyu as well, which is a big draw. Ditto, not really going to say much. Ditto doesn't really need to be talked about, so I'm going to just close it off, but it is there. Rotom Fan is kind of a underrated threat this gen so far. Stuff like, but it's more offensive. That's what people realize. So Nasty Plot, Air Slash. Did I even have Togekiss in here? Togekiss is another one of these. Same thing as Rotom Fan, basically. Air Slash, Nasty Plot 3 attacks, or Nasty Plot with T-Wave or something like this. Nasty Plot D-Gleam. Maybe a fire move here, so something like this is really good. Nasty Plot Air Slash, so you have Discharge or Thunderbolt here. That's all you really need. Rather you have a Coverage or Will-O-Wisp as your last slot, and then pretty much, you know, max this, and you Dynamax. You click max Airstream, and you Nasty Plot, you Dynamax and click max Airstream, and you get fast, and you can sweep people with +2/+1. Pretty good. Maybe you want something. The typing is pretty decent as well. The fact that it has flying means it's not as weak to Excadrill as other Rotoms, but it does lose out of like the water resist and not being as good against Ferrothorn like Rotom Heat is. Duraludon, I think it's pretty interesting. There's like two main sets that I think are interesting. Like Clay, I think it's a pretty good screener. Light Screen, Reflect, Stealth Rock, and Steel Beam. So yeah, just a suicide lead really. Get your screens up, get your rocks up, get out of there. Pretty cool lead. Pretty cool Pokemon, and then Weakness Policy is another one. Run some like semi-defensive spread. Like, I don't know. That's just an example there. I'm not even sure if that works. You probably want some speed investment here, but you can run like Flash Cannon, Dragon Pulse, you know, like Rock Tomb here, and then maybe it doesn't get a fire coverage move. No, but maybe you want to run Thunderbolt. Something like this could be okay. Wall by Ferrothorn. Unfortunately, maybe Dark Pulse is better then. But yeah, that's good. Conk, I think it's pretty good. Either Flame Orb or Life Orb Sheer Force. I think Flame Orb Guts is actually better at the moment. Or Fist Plates, Iron Fists, probably also okay. But yeah, you always go see Drain Punch, Mach Punch, and then you can have Bulk Up on the set, Ice Punch, Thunder Punch. These are the main things. You want to always be running some sort of bulky investment, something like this, with perhaps a bit of Spadef investment. It's pretty decent. want to live certain hits, and then yeah, you can EV this to outspeed, like maybe base 50s or something like that, or just have it slow. It's pretty good against as an anti-Trick Room on anti hyper offense. Yeah, it's obviously excellent in Trick Room. It's great versus Sand. So those are two things to keep in mind. Mach Punch is a great priority of this thing's stupid attack. And then yeah, I talked about Togekiss already. So anyways, I hope I gave you an idea of what's good and why it's good, at least at the moment. I just talked through about like 20 Pokemon or so. Some of them, obviously, these ones at the bottom, I didn't really go into too much because it's, they're less important. But definitely pay attention to the mons I put here, like the top 3 rows of these are mons that you should be looking to breed if you want to play on cartridge, or just like be thinking about when you're team building. But yeah, cheers.